heart of Texas.
I grew up in Fort Worth, Texas in the 1950s. We didn't have a major league team in Texas, but it was a no-brainer as to who my team would be. You see, a relative of mine on my mother's side of the family, my third cousin once removed, was managing the Yankees then. His name? Charles Dillon Stengel. And as he used to say, you could look it up. But you won't have to. Here's the family tree linking Casey and yours truly to our common ancestor, Timothy Dillon, born in Ireland in 1778. He was Casey's second great-grandfather and my third great-grandfather. This is a response I received in 1959 when, as an astute and baseball-wise sage of 12 years old, I wrote my distinguished relative advising him that Hector Lopez, whom we had acquired from the Kansas City A's, would not take us to the promised land. This is a scorecard I got in Kansas City in 1960, the first regular season big league game I ever saw in person. I got to go on a YMCA bus trip from Fort Worth to see that weekend series played at Old Municipal Stadium. The Yankees were in town. It was to be Casey's last year as manager, Maris's first year with the club. We went to the hotel where the team was staying and huddled around the elevator on the main floor. Whenever it would stop on the 7th floor, we would crowd around to see if any of the Yankees would emerge so we could get autographs. This is the ball which I still have with the autographs. I was run over by Bob Turley as he tried to make it to the coffee shop. Ryan Duran kept using my pen to sign other balls, which delayed me in pursuing other players. Mickey Mantle kept warning us to back off or he would quit signing. He had signed MIC on my ball when he said that was it and handed it back to me. It left a bad taste in my mouth, so I followed him out to the team bus, shoved it up in the window at him, and demanded, "Finish it." He did. That October, I was listening to Game 7 on the radio while sitting in my 8th grade science health class at Meadowbrook Junior High School in Fort Worth, Texas, when Bill Mazeroski parked that high-hanging curve off of Ralph Terrett. I lost all my lunch money that day, 25 cents, betting on the Yankees in the series, and my famous relative lost his job as manager. Sometimes life just isn't fair. I was such a fan that in our class predictions they wrote that by 1975 I would be managing the Yankees. That didn't happen, but as it turned out, I probably would not have done any worse than those who did. Like the rest of us who are diehards, I suffered through the drought that lasted from 1964 until the boss turned things around in the late 70s with the help of Billy, Reggie, Thurman, and the rest of the Bronx Zoo bunch. Then in 1998, my wife and I moved to New York and lived on the Upper West Side working at NBC in Rockefeller Plaza. My colleagues were incredulous that there was such a thing as a Yankee fan who spoke with a Texas accent and had a dog named after Yogi Berra. So was Dale Berra over at the Yogi Berra Museum, who said that dogs were not allowed, until he found out my pooch was his daddy's namesake. This is a picture of my wife Sandy, my dog Yogi, and my dear friends Lee and Nancy Marengolf and Barbara Carvalho visiting at the museum. Nancy's father was the late Ray Robinson, who wrote what many folks consider to be the definitive biography of Lou Gehrig. Lee and Barbara head up the Marist Pole. The first time Lee and Barbara came into my office at NBC, they noticed Ray Robinson's book on Yankee Stadium on my bookshelf. When Lee commented that his father-in-law was the author of the book, I told him I'd always been a Yankee fan.
When John Sparks first showed up in New York, he claimed to have been a lifetime Yankee fan. Barbara and I are, of course, experts on social demography and knew that this couldn't be until he recited the following. What do Jack Aker, Rich McKinney, Joe Page, Jerry Lumpy, Hector Lopez, Dwight Gooden, Chuck Knobloch, and Jeff Torborg, among others, all have in common? This threw us into a research dither.
Quickly to the internet.
Went to the internet and discovered, as John quickly pointed out in his own inimitable way, they all wore number 11 for the Yankees. Whereupon we believed everything he ever told us.
During our 4 years in New York, we took in a lot of games at the stadium. Made visits to Monument Park. We were there for Whitey Ford Day. And we saw the Yankees win Game 4 of the 1999 World Series against the Braves, a 4-game sweep. All in all, we had a delightful 4-year run and took advantage of it whenever we could up at the stadium. But then it was time to return to Texas. But before we left, we got a send-off from the mayor himself, Rudy Giuliani.
John, I really feel bad we're going to lose one of our great Yankee fans, but you actually never lose Yankee fans. You're going to root for us right there in Dallas, Texas. I know you're going to show up at that, whatever they call that ballpark that the Texas Rangers play in, and you'll be rooting for the Yankees with your Yankee hat on, and we expect you to be making a lot of noise, and we're really going to miss you.
Last spring, Sandy and I met Lee, Nancy, and Barbara in Tampa for a week of games. Even ran into Dylan Betances at a restaurant. Our newest addition to the family is a fan also, Casey, named after you-know-who. She won't get to make the trip to Tampa this year, but we'll meet the gang there again the week of March 12th for games against the Orioles, Phillies, Red Sox, and Blue Jays. And regardless of whether you deem us worthy of one of the prizes, this lifelong Yankee fan from Texas is looking forward to the trip, as well as a World Series victory this fall in the Bronx.